Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 95th episode of Don't Forget the Popcorn. Today, I have a request from a subscriber. Shout out to Sherry M. Shepherd Masat. She's been great to the channel. Anyone who's been watching this channel for a while knows that I love 90s movies. The 90s is one of the best decades in recent history, and when you watch a 90s movie, it puts you right into that time period. It reminds you that simple romance movies were high grossers and Oscar contenders. A time where things were simple. A simple romance movie could do well critically and commercially, and that was a-okay. If this movie came out today, it would be a Netflix release. The movie I'm talking about is The Prince of Tides, 1991, directed by Barbra Streisand. It also stars her and my dude, Nick Nolte. Now, I had never seen this movie, and I'm shocked because it got 7 Oscar noms. I can't say they are all deserved, but some of them are. Now, this movie is 33 years old, so I might spoil this a little. If you're watching this review, I'm guessing you've seen it anyway. Now, this movie is packed with themes and some dark ones. Love, relationships with your children, infidelity, suicide, SA, depression, suppression. I mean, a whole lot. Now, I won't lie, in the beginning I was like, oh, this is about to be some trash. But immediately got into it when we were introduced to Tom's mother. We can tell right away some stuff is going on. Tom, Nick Nolte's character, doesn't have a job. He's a former teacher and football coach. His wife is the breadwinner. I'm pretty sure she's a doctor. They live in South Carolina, a real Southern family. So, the conflict here is that Tom's sister has tried to take her own life, and his mother wants him to go to New York and speak to her psychiatrist, Susan, played by Barbara herself. Now, I know you can see where this may be going, but it's far more than meets the eye in that way. Now, if I went over every little thing in this movie, or even every theme, we'd be here all day. So I'm not going to do that. I'll go over some things, but I think I just want to go about this in a slightly selfish way and talk about how it made me feel. So honestly, my favorite thing about this movie is seeing Tom roam through New York City like a fish out of water, but learning to love the Big Apple. It reminds me of Jon Voight in Midnight Cowboy. New York City is a perfect playground for someone like Tom in this moment in his life. His wife is cheating. He has no job. He's worried about his twin sister, and he really doesn't have much direction. New York has so much to offer in many ways, and I think it's a great place for a Southerner who isn't used to a big city. Tom is meeting new people, going to parties, and honestly rediscovering who he is. Nick Nolte received an Oscar nom for his acting here, and I really think it was well deserved. Having said that, I could easily see someone disagreeing with that in 2024. He captures this Southern man who slowly starts to adapt and change his ways. It's nice to watch. Now, this movie, I believe, is based on a book or something, but I mean, it's very obvious where this is going. Tom and Susan are gonna hook up. Although she's rich and successful, she has her issues too. Her son hates her husband cheats, and he's never home. Now, with this movie, it's super predictable. But I gotta give Babs credit. She moves the pacing along nicely and does fill this thing with its little twists and turns that makes its predictability oddly unpredictable. Now don't worry, you will still be right about what's going to happen. But how you get there might shock you. You start to get wrapped up in Tom and Susan's growing relationship as they try and help his sister. Now honestly, I don't remember them really doing much for her. Now, that can be either because it didn't happen, or the relationship growing between Tom and Susan is much more interesting than Tom's sister's arc. But that's not to say that's not interesting too. But for other reasons I'll bring up later. Nick and Babs have great chemistry in this movie. I think they perfectly play off each other in a big opposites attract scenario. They seemingly have nothing in common, yet they end up really liking each other. Now, it could be genuine or because they are both going through things with their significance, similar things. They both are longing for some love they haven't gotten in a long time. It shows us the dynamics of being married for a long time and dealing with the change in your spouse. Now, I'm not a married man, nor do I have children, but I do have parents, and I've seen this kind of thing play out in my own life. Some could say my lack of marriage enthusiasm comes from not seeing a successful one at home, but I could relate to this. If this movie shows us anything, it shows us how hard relationships can be. Even couples who have it all go through things. Now, I'll touch on the relationship between Tom and Susan later. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Tom's twin sister. I think the best thing this movie did is layer in Tom's past the way it did. Because Tom's past is absolutely the reason he is the way he is today. His past is fucked. There's a lot of things that explains his character in adulthood. I mean, dude, his dad was a huge piece of shit. He was very mean to everyone in the house. One of the funniest scenes is when his dad is upset about how nasty the dinner is, and his mom goes to the kitchen to fix him something better. She makes this dude a meal with dog food, and he eats it up and says it's good. It's funny and gross. His mother is an interesting character as well. On the surface, she seems okay, but man, as we peel back the layers into his childhood, we find out she isn't a saint by any means. The whole first half, I'm just wondering, like, okay, I don't know why everyone in this family is so screwed up in the head, but you find out. Now, I'm not going to discuss why in this review because it's a little graphic and a bit much to talk about in a YouTube video, but let's just say it's fucked up. We see firsthand how untreated trauma can play in adulthood. We see it in Tom and especially in his sister, who has made multiple attempts on her own life. The editing of the flashbacks versus present day is the strongest filmmaking technique used in this movie. I must say I didn't see coming what came, and I think they did a great job of building intrigue about Tom's past. It's truly the heart of the film. One thing the film does poorly, though, is really touching on his sister. I mean, she's the whole reason he's in New York, but I mean, after a while, it seems Tom and Susan could give a shit less about her. The film shifts far from being about her recovery and all about Tom and his relationships. Now, this is a 90s movie, and in the 90s, mental health wasn't dealt with the way it is today. It's what this movie is about, yet it isn't at all in a weird way. It's strange. The more we find out about her and why she's the way she is, the less we emphasize on it. Her attempts and mental health is all just the foreground for why Tom takes a trip to New York and starts seeing another woman. I mean, I'm not bothered by this, but I can see a 20-year-old watching this now and having a problem with her issues completely taking a backseat to everything else. I mean, hell, his relationship with Susan's son seems to be more important than the one with his sister's health. I do think the film could have balanced the two out a little better. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading the whole thing wrong, but I think if this came out now, his relationship with his sister and her mental health would be much more at the forefront. Okay, so I want to talk about the main thing this movie is about. Relationships. What it takes to make them work. Okay, so Tommy's wife admits to him that she's been cheating on him when she's on the phone with him one night. She doesn't think she wants him to come for the weekend as planned despite his daughters missing him. Now, we could easily label her as a bad guy, but it's deeper than that. Tom has been mourning the death of his brave older brother Luke. It's left him detached from the world in a way. He's there in presence, but a lot of the times, not mentally. This has driven his wife into the arms of another man. Is that an excuse to cheat? Hell no. She is wrong for that. Marriage takes work, for better or for worse, right? This man is in mourning. Still, he is there, a good dad to his girls, and trying to be the best version of a husband that he knows how to be. But on the other hand, Tom can't fully be excused here. He's absent-minded. He's absent even when he's present. He doesn't show his wife affection and has become completely complacent in their marriage. Does this make it right? No. I think if you're going to take that step, you take it all the way. And that's not cheating. She says things that would drive a man wild. Like, I may only be cheating to hurt you. Like, bro, come on. That's the sickest, twisted shit to say to your spouse. Like, that would make a man crazy. She seems to be over him and the marriage for a while until something happens later. Now, Susan is pretty much in the same boat as Tom, but worse. She's in a sexless marriage with a career musician who is never home. He's rich, rude, and arrogant and belittles his wife in front of people. When Tom starts to fall for Susan and he sees how her husband treats her, it reignites the fire inside a man when love is involved. I'll say this. I'm Team Tom and Susan all day. Man, the spark these two have is awesome. Their chemistry is the perfect opposites attract blend. Different enough to stay interesting, but similar on the same grounded moral values. I love these two together. The time they spend is amazing, and although I'm a dude, I'm a sucker for a good love story. This movie kind of reminds me of A Brief Encounter from David Lean back in the 40s. You see two people that should not be together, but man, I want them to be together so badly. I was rooting for them. I wanted Tom to stay in New York and be with Susan. But this movie takes a more realistic approach. When Tom's wife finds out he met someone in New York, she pretty much is like, I'm over that dude and I want you back. She realized, wait a minute, he is desirable. He is valuable. And most of all, she realizes he can be happy without her. In realistic fashion, though, and Tom being the Southern gentleman he is, he goes back to his damn wife and kids. Ugh, I was so upset. And I know he's always going to think, did he let a good one get away? As upset as I was happy it ended this way. It's how it would go. It's cheaper to keep her. And he has daughters that love him and his wife being together. A whole life he spent years building. Can you risk all that for a woman you have a great connection with physically and mentally? I honestly don't know. I'm not married and I don't have kids, but I think he made the wrong decision. His wife already proved how she's going to be when things get tough, but I get it. I think Nick Nolte is absolutely amazing in this movie. I mean, he's always good, then and now. A real legend, and I'm glad he got the Oscar nom for this. Babs was also good. Another legend, and someone who's always been great. I just can't think about her without thinking about Mecca Streisand from South Park. Drop in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. I think Babs did a great job directing, and I must say, I think the film has aged quite well. It's got that basic 90s romance score and has that basic 90s cinematography. You watch it for 3 minutes and you know it's an early 90s movie, which for me is appealing. I just love the 90s style of filmmaking. A time where a second-rate R-rated romance movie could get 7 Oscar noms and gross over $100 million. Those days are long over. Like I said, if this came out now, it would be a Netflix release. But if you like romance movies, and I think you'll love this one. And I must say, I did love this movie. As far as it is, I thought it was awesome. I was very engaged throughout, and all the requests I've gotten on movies I've never seen, this would probably be my favorite so far. So with that said, I'm going to give The Prince of Tides an 8 out of 10. Guys, thank you so much for watching my Prince of Tides review. Let me know if there's a film or topic you'd like me to go over. Guys, do me a huge favor. Like and subscribe. It's free. I appreciate it. Guys, follow me on Letterboxd, Ralph Vader. I'll link that below. I got a podcast with my buddy, The Cutting Room Floor. I'll link that below as well for more movie content. I will be back next week. And don't forget the popcorn.